Hello there. So I'm dressed for work, even though I don't work. This is my first time just in a casual work outfit since my job was eliminated back in May. So I'm very happy to have discovered that the smallest size of pants that I own, which I also only bought about 2 months ago, just shy of getting laid off, they still fit. Not a problem. That was my biggest worry. I know there's a lot of things to be worried about when you get laid off. The only thing I was immediately worried about was gaining weight because I have been heavy my whole life. I am at the least heavy I've ever been, and I would like to keep it that way. There's something to be said for only being 20 pounds overweight. That always feels like a realistic goal that I can accomplish. And even if I don't, no harm, no foul. So, anyway, the reason I am dressed in work clothes is because I just interviewed for a volunteer role. I'm not going to say anything else about it because I don't really know much about it. And I don't even remember when I applied for it. It might even have been like 2 years ago, and it's just now coming around, which the timing is so fascinating. But I had a little bit of like corporate flashback last night when I was thinking about like going in to interview for something, regardless of the fact that it's like totally volunteer. It's so vastly different from like being that like slave to corporate. But I did have like a little bit of that old panic. So like that corporate burnout is still in me, even though basically for like the last 6 weeks, I have just been like 100% myself with none of that work identity tied to it. I had no problem walking away from being the boss. In fact, when I was out to dinner recently with the person I was dating and no longer dating, I mean, he asked me like, did I miss being a boss? What was it like? And I was trying to describe that role, and like, I didn't miss it at all. I was kind of like, yeah, but like, not a problem. Like, I'm totally fine. I've like totally given into like my writing, my creativity, my beach bum, focusing on potential love. Like, I've never focused on that before at all. It kind of feels like a job to some extent. But at any rate, I have had zero problem like divorcing myself from the corporate identity, and like honestly not feeling much of the toxicity that I've carried for 30 years, but it's still there because I felt it last night when I was like, oh, got to put on a work outfit, got to go interview. And then I was like, what are you talking about? This is a volunteer thing. It's something you want to do that you might be interested in. You don't care if it doesn't happen. It's like you could care either way. If it does, awesome. It's something new to do. If not, no big deal. So that was kind of cool when I went into it today because it was like, I have nothing to win or lose here. This is a conversation. I can learn just as much about this as they learn about me, but like outcome, I really don't care. We'll see what happens. So it's kind of nice to just be able to like relax a little bit into just being myself. And like, if we're a match, great. If we're not, that's no different than most of my life. But I did have to put the corporate identity back on for a little bit. And it's fascinating how fast it comes back, where I'm like, hey, here's what I've done in leadership for 20 years. Here's my operational expertise. Here's my human resource expertise. Here's my meeting management. Here's my difficult business partner management. Here's how I deal with, 8 different business partners that all want 8 different things and no one can have it, and how you have to identify what everybody's wants and goals are and figure out a common solution and make sure that everybody agrees to it in the end and actually feels good about it. Like, that was a daily occurrence for me, communicating things people didn't necessarily want to hear but had to, and then bringing them along in a really safe and like respectful way, which I'm sure my last boss who created a completely insane narrative about me would say was not me. But he's the only one that said that, so like everybody else knows that I am not a problem to work with unless you're trying to do something you're not supposed to do, which is exactly what they're looking for in this role, is somebody who's going to enforce laws and regulations and tell people why they can't do the illegal things they want to do, but in a very diplomatic way. Well, I've got about 30 years of experience in that. And so that hat came on pretty quickly and pretty easily, but I would like to take it off now as I go change out of my work clothes that thank goodness, still fit me, my littlest ones. These are like my smallest pants, and my smallest size tops, and they're still fitting, but I'm going to go put on my retirement wear, which is usually some variation of cargo pants and a t-shirt and Birkenstock. So we'll go back to the creative, but that's what I've been up to today. Brought out the old corporate identity. She's still in there. She's still traumatized, but she still knows her shit and she still has a lot to offer. And she's trying something that, stakes aren't that high. And I'm open to anything. That's kind of what's been great is like I've been so happy. Because I've just been able to get up every day and embrace whatever opportunities there are without any pressure as I continue to sort of discover who I am and who I want to be for kind of this last phase of my life. So anyway, that's today's update. And I also reloaded on my wine because I've now found a brand I actually like. And by no means do I know much about wine. I'm only on the Sauvignon Blanc, which I've heard is what, that's a first time wine drinker. And that's where we all start. And I'm only on that. But you know what? Everything's a start.